introduce yourself, the media house you come from, then pose your question. Makanya, noted one. Can I see by the show of hands, please, so that we know? Okay, you Africa. Clive, noted. I think. Oh, I see Langa. Thank
you. Premier, perhaps let's start at the beginning.
Let's be uniform, please. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. So, my name is Leo Makanya. I work for SABC News. Premier, let's start at the beginning. We are where we are because of the problems that are well known within the institution. But from my understanding, from what we are saying today, is that clients, potential clients, should continue opening accounts at Ithala, even though there is still this uncertainty about the future of the institution. Are you not putting them at risk of losing their hard-earned cash as a result of making this call, whilst you know very well that the future remains very uncertain about Ithala? And also the second question to the CEO of the institution itself. Following the judgment which was issued recently, have you got all your ducks in a row now in terms of the day-to-day operations? Are people able to access their funds, and have you been able to meet those particular obligations?
Thank you, Mr. Makanya. Newsroom.
Nobusha Modisa from Newsroom Africa. My first two questions go to Dr. Vilakazi. So, what's the operational plan? I think I'm piggybacking on my colleague's question. Basically, are you ready to resume all non-deposit transactions, and what will that look like for customers? And then secondly, how are you planning to address the issues that have been brought up by the Prudential Authority regarding the insolvency? Basically, can you provide clarity on your current financial position? And then my third question, it's my last one, I think I want to pose it to the MEC, Reverend Zondi, around, I read a report where you were arguing why getting a banking license would not be ideal according to the Banks Act. I just want to find out from you, why you against the full functioning in terms of a banking license. Thank you.
Thank you. Clive?
Yes, my name is Clive Ndolo from the Weekends. If you look at the history of Ithala, it has been for several years been attempting to get the banking license without any success. And there are some people with the banking knowledge who say that what should happen is that the Banking Act should be amended in such a way that an institution such as Ithala, which, as the Premier correctly pointed out, renders a crucial service to the previously unbanked, can continue operating. Have you looked at that option at all, of getting the law amended so that an institution like this can operate business?
Thank you, Clive. Ilanga?
Ikama Upegi from Ilanga. I know you are pushing so very hard you are still pushing so very hard to obtain the license. Are you perhaps able to share with us the latest developments, if there are any, at the current moment? Yes.
Oh, right. Thank you, Honorable Premier. Can you all hand over to the Honorable Premier?
No, thank you very much for the questions. I think Dr. Vilakazi will respond to the questions that were directed to him, and also Honorable Reverend Zondi, the MEC, will respond to a question that was directed to him. I will then only respond to the issue of whether are we not putting clients at risk when we pursue them to remain with Ithala SOC Limited. I must say their money is safe. At no stage they will lose their money. What is important is the preservation of the institution, not only for the money that is with the institution, but for the economic growth of the province, for the economic growth of the rural communities and township communities. Because Ithala is a distinct institution when it comes to the conditions that are there for people who are looking for support. It's our hope as the province that we can see a better growth in our economy if Ithala is active, supporting those emerging entrepreneurs and those who are expanding their businesses. There is no risk, therefore, for them to keep their money with Ithala. Well, I think we are all aware that there was a court judgment which was actually making the PA and the RA to back off in terms of the mandate that they gave themselves, awarding a judgment that was actually causing Ithala to reopen a business. And unfortunately, there's an appeal again as we speak, and which is going to be heard by the full bench here in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, meaning that the PA and the RA, they are adamant in destroying Ithala SOC Limited. That is why you are saying, as the provincial government will continue to defend Ithala using different means. As you are aware, that I also engaged even the President of the Republic about this subject and the Minister of Finance nationally, with a hope that such interventions were going to yield positive results. So it's not a risk to bank with to continue banking with Ithala. We are hopeful that at the end of the day, even if it calls for us to go to the Constitutional Court, we will go to the Constitutional Court so that we save Ithala. Not for us, not for ourselves, but for the people of this province. Because it is an institution that has yielded important hope to the future of our economy and the future of our people. Then I will request that maybe the MEC first respond to the issue of the full bank license.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. I think my response to the question is to the two questions because they are related.
Amendment.
Yeah. I will start with the exemption one. There is provision in the Banks Act which exists for exemption to be granted to certain institutions such as Ithala SOC to operate as a fully fledged bank without having to acquire a banking license. That has been the case from day one until the powers that be decided that they were no longer going to grant it. So I think your question is based on the political argument I was making, that denying extending the exemption to Ithala SOC may as well cause an amendment to the Banks Act, do away with the exemption regime. That's all I was saying, because it's spurious if it is not going to be operational. We are making it operational because we are working within the law governing the banks in South Africa, because it's a state bank. Now, I've been a parliamentarian since 1994. from 1994, it has been a persistent call from parliamentarians that a state bank should be established. There has been no success to date. Ithala is the only, if you like, existing state bank which has been successful. So why kill something that is already successful? And therefore, Clive, I don't think we are saying any act needs to be amended at all. Now, the reason why we need to acquire a banking license is merely to comply with the current situation where the Prudential Authority has done away, has withdrawn its ability, not because it is not provided for in law, it is there in law, but they don't want to give it to an institution for which we as parliamentarians, when we drafted that act saying that what about state institutions like the Land Bank and others? Will they need a commercial license? Do you need to privatize them? No, you don't need to privatize them. And therefore that exemption clause was put in there. So that is the argument I was making.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before I address your questions, I might take this opportunity to greet the Honorable Premier who's with us. I know he's got a very heavy schedule, and also express on behalf of the board of Ithala and his staff and executive management the tremendous support that he's been providing us in the trenches of the current war that we're in. Obviously, in a war, there will be skirmishes and battles, and we win certain battles, like we've won a battle on the 9th of May. So, Kodite, we thank you on behalf of our staff, customers, and the public. Also, the support that we obtained from Honorable MEC Unondaba Uzondi, who has been with us all along. Fortunately, the leaders that are before me here are not just the leaders in this province, but they also understand the roots and the foundation of Ithala SOC Limited as an institution that was founded by our forefathers in this country and pioneers. So it is quite important that when they express a feeling and an emotion, that it is not derived purely as a transactional motion, but it is a mission that is about the legacy of an African child in this country, where we know that up to now we have not been able to have a well-established African black-owned institutions. So, Kodite Sompisi Siyabonga kakhulu. There was a question that was put up by Ukwabe from the SABC, which was in tandem to the question that had been addressed to Nondaba as to what is the situation with our day-to-day operations. Now, let me give you a picture of the decision of the 16th of January, what it did. Fortunately, I can speak to that because that has already been argued in court. So it's a public record that was put in court. Those who were at court on the 15th of March, they would have heard our senior counsel, Umtungwa Kumalo SC, telling the judge Ngube that the efforts and all the things that have taken place are tantamount to trying to gut Ithala out of existence. Now, on the 16th of January, what they did, in the middle of operations of Ithala at about 3 o'clock, now those who have worked in banks, banking is quite a very difficult subject and also a very difficult trade to be in. In fact, it's called complex. In the middle of operations at 3 o'clock, an instruction came through that shut down one of our key platforms that hosts our ability to transact. Now, on the 15th, government employees, farm workers, people who work on our factories in Durban are in our banking halls, and suddenly the screen goes off. And I've not been notified as the CEO of a bank. That then translated into a number of other activities. For an example, money in transit, where people are trying to deliver money to our branch environment, are told, don't deliver the money. And they act accordingly. And in our view, because I can't argue legally, our advisors have told they should have not done that. And in fact, if you look at the J. Ngube decision, he correctly goes to the core to say anything that's got to do with the operations of our business should have not been focused on them. So we lost the capacity of our people to service them whilst they're standing. There's an old man who used to come to Ithala Gardner Street. He's almost age 90. He comes to town with umakoti to come and bank. And he dressed in a 3-piece suit. And I used to meet him every day. Imagine that old man if he had made his trip here and suddenly he's got to go back home without money to pay for the bus. So when Honorable Kodite is saying to us, this is more than just an institution that is under attack, it's now going to the loins of the institution, the public interest trust. So what that did, I will not undate you with the detail, but you can go to the papers of the court that are in public domain. The decision has been issued. You will see a very precise way of actually having the institution to stall, to stymie, and not being able to service its customers. We are not saying because we no longer have an exemption that we want to operate. In fact, on the 21st of December 2022, we had a consent order where we agreed that we'll operate under his presence and umbrella. And they somersaulted and said, no, that order does not mean that. That matter is now at the Supreme Court of Appeal. So I can't speak to it here. But you can't pick and choose what is in the order. You can't say one part of the order is applicable, the other part is not inapplicable. So we lost our capacity to operate. My ATMs were shut down. BankServe was shut down. A number of processes and systems that make it able for a business to operate were shut down. Now, those who are coming from factories here, like me, I work in a factory in my life before. You know, when you shut down a factory, when you have to restart it, there is a regression process. You have now to make sure that the suppliers that supplied you must be in place. The data that's sitting in your computer system is valid and it's got integrity. Capacity, bring up the capacity of the institution to where it was. You have lost a few people that might have left. Bring that to fold before you switch on. So you can't turn it on and turn it off. It's like a smelter in an iron steel. It takes you months to light the fire before you can produce one steel rod. So their decision, which SC Kumalo correctly so said, this is a gutting of Ithala, has caused us not to be able to function optimally. However, what are we doing? We have been able to secure the release of our insurance business because they had also put their clashes on an insurance business. Now, let me assist here. What is a deposit? What is a deposit? A deposit is a form of financing that a bank uses. Bank has 3 or 4 ways of financing itself. It gets money from the shareholders, it goes to the market to borrow, then it borrows money from the depositors, and it promises them an interest rates that they're going to pay them. That's what qualifies as a deposit. I've been in banking for 35 years. Sibasa sekhaya sikho. Kwathi ayiswe inkomo ngiye esikoleni ngifunde emaplazini. You can't say SASSA grant is a deposit. You can't say a salary that is received by a person that is due to him is a deposit. You can't say money that has been overpaid into someone's account because he sold property or is clearing property and is due to him, it's a deposit. You can't say claims of insurance where a family, there's a family, I can't mention the name, where they have had their insurance policy that is due to them, unable to get it because it's sitting in an account that is frozen. So we can't have a situation where people are going around misleading the public to say Ithala just has deposits. We don't have deposits. Let me tell you a question. Every day you go to a certain retail shop, I can't mention their name here, you go and send money. You go to the accountants and send money. Do they have a banking license? No. But they send money, they sell tickets for soccer, you buy movies, you buy because in our national payment system, there's what is called TPPs, third-party payment providers. They don't need a license. There's hundreds of them. So our operations have been greatly affected. We have put a plan. We also put up a plan for people to be able to pay. Imagine this, that you are a client of Ithala. You're supposed to pay for your car, and your credit record is good with the credit bureaus. And then the account of being able to pay is shut out. Your employer sends money to you to pay for your dues for the month, March, April, May. What's going to happen to your credit profile? All of those things, there is this blasé attitude about regulatory role. We're not saying regulators must not do their job, but regulators have an obligation to act in the best interest, not just of depositors, and what Godide is saying, Honorable Godide is saying, the public interest. So you can see, if that person is unable to pay for the loan that they are now unable to pay for, their credit record is going to be bad. And the first people who are going to chase them are the banks, are the revenue receivers, or anyone else. So it took us time to convince them that insurance business is not part of this. And they've now agreed. We have also have a plan where we're able, our customers, to now pay to an account at a particular bank to receive these obligations on a monthly basis. When I was taught banking, I was told that the economy of a country functions abreast with this banking system. These two are intertwined. You can't cripple one side and the other doesn't become crippled. And that's what has happened here. The economy for KwaZulu-Natal is being affected. People think about the client, but the economy is being affected. I have clients from our mother body from IDFC, who won contracts, genuine contracts, supplying services, government-needed services, who bank with us, who suddenly cannot continue to do what they do. Use a multiplier of 8 for every family member that work at Ithala, 450 of them. Just multiply them by 8. Use a multiplier of 8 to all the SMMEs that we are actually servicing. Use a multiplier of 8 on the 3 to 8,000 customers that Honorable Ntuli has actually alluded to. That's the number of people behind this. Sorry, this gets me very emotional. Rightly so. So in terms of our operation, I think this also question was addressed by Ms. Modise. So that's where we are with our operations. So at the moment, you can come to our branch, you can get insurance advice. and all of that. But you can't do OTC, over-the-counter services. We don't take deposits. And let me address that very quickly. All the deposits that we had were legally collected up to the 15th of December 2023, legally in our hands. We're not a Ponzi scheme. In fact, I can't use certain strong words because I've got my elders with me. Should be using very strong words, but the words that are being said about our institution. I'm not going to chastise the media, but there are some people in the media that don't do their research. Some of them call us a piggy bank. I'm sure Agri-Cluster should be turning in his grave. You need to do your research before you come to a conclusion that 1, 2, 3 is this and define it. Because it is not so when you get the facts. The next question, as I move on, was around the insolvency. I won't get into this because that's before the courts, and the provisional liquidation case is not going to be held. But it's very easy for you, Ms. Modise. Take our annual financial statements. 2 numbers, current assets minus current liabilities. See what number you're going to get. Use the 31st of March 2024 numbers. You will not get something less than 356 million positive. Now, an institution is said to be insolvent when your current liabilities exceeds your current assets. That's not our case. But I can't get into it because that matter is still going to be heard. Full banking license, I think Honorable Nondaba has addressed this one. The issue of the amendment was also addressed. I'll then tackle from our national paper, Elanga. With your permission, Godite, bengacela ukukhuluma ngomageba ngoba nginaba baselangeni. Siyabonga kakhulu ngombuzo ovele laphana kwabamele ilanga iphepha lesizwe mayilana nokuqonda ukuthi yiphi imizamo eyenziwayo ekufanele ukuthi ngelinye ilanga isilulu sethu ithala likwazi ukuthi libe nemvume yokusebenza. Kuzokwazeka ukuthi ngonyaka ka2016 sazama kuba nalemvume siyithole noma thina sasingakafika ababengaphambi kwethu kwakhonjwa indaba negatshana ezithize kuthiwa kufanele ukuthi sizenze ezazikhonjiwe kakhulu kwakuthiwa kufanele kube nemali eningi esiyifakayo sisenze ubuchwepheshe sikuthuthukise ngaphakathi bese sithola futhi abantu abawaziyo umsebenzi wobhange. Ezimbili zalezo zinto sezafezeka. Kodwa into esiphazamise kakhulu kuthe ngonyaka ka2018 bachibiyela lo wamthetho wesigatshana sika 12 kwi-Banks Act owawusuchitha ukuthi umzali wethu Ithala Development Finance Corporation akwazi ukuyosubmit ilicense. Yiyo ke into esibambile ngoJune 2023 ngoba uma ngabe umzali wakhe engakwazi ukuapply license awukwazi ukungena njengengane. Imapha amalungiselelo akhona njengamanje ziningi ezinye izinto ezingaphakathi sizenzayo. Mangakuhlebela nje nginihlebele ukuthi cisho izinto ezisele zo9% esithi zingemuva kwesikhathi esinqunyelwe ukuthi zibe khona. Ukukhombisayo ukuthi mningi kakhulu umsebenzi esesiuhlakulile ngaphakathi sakwazi ukuthi siziphephise. Sayisubmita application ngo30 June. Siyakholelwa ukuthi lo application kube yayibukwe kahle yanikezwa yonke amalungelo njengoba mawuyingane ubhale kwi-examination fana ima kwi-exam yakho. Siyakholwa futhi abameli bethu basitshela ukuthi leyo nto enayenza ayizange ngisho ubungisho ukubukwa. So ke ilapho sikwenzayo ngicela ukuvala lapho bese mhlambe ngisho futhi ukuthi kumakhasimende ethu sizama ngayo yonke indlela njengoba nibona sihleli nosompisi nonondaba sizoqhubeka nize emabranchini nizothola ulwazi insurance iyasebenza zonke izinto enidingayo ziyasebenza. Into esingakwazi nje ukuyenza ukukhipha imali yenu kuma account kodwa njengoba eshilo ugodide imali yenu iphephile eThala ikhona asikaze siyenze lutho ihleli esilulu senu. Siyabonga kakhulu.
Thank you, Honorable Premier and Dr. Vilakazi and the Honorable MEC. May we take a last round of questions just to conclude? And I know, Honorable Premier, that there are some who have asked for one-on-one afterwards. So there's no follow-up. Okay. Clive, you noted. Nobushle. Is that the last two that we conclude with? Okay, thank you, Clive.
The Premier, in his statement, alluded to the meeting that you had with the Finance Minister and the President around this all issues surrounding the Ithala Bank. And can you take us through in terms of what was their response when you presented the case to Ithala, particularly in light of the fact that the Finance Minister has since returned to the Reserve Bank asking it to initiate the process of paying back the people. Yeah.
All right, can you do
Just, Dr. Vilakazi spoke of a regression factories, and a lot of business people who are banking with Ithala are facing the same thing. Many of them saying, well, the ones I've spoken to, that they don't think after this, this thing that has happened, that they will be continuing to bank with Ithala. It seems as if most people have grown despondent because of the situation. What communication are you having with your clients? Because many of them are saying, ever since the bank's ruling on Friday, they haven't received any, communication from the bank.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. Let me ask you.
Well, no, thank you. In fact, we had several engagements with the Minister of Finance, together with the MEC for ATI and MEC for Finance, and there was a commitment to support the preservation of Ithala, including from the President of the country. There was such commitment to support the preservation of Ithala. Unfortunately, we saw what you saw, which was a communication to the Reserve Bank, which was still seeking for clarity as to what was intended by that line. I've written to the Minister of Finance to seek clarity or to cause engagement on the line, on the message which was there.
Very brief in my reply. We have an ongoing client and staff engagement. This weekend we had to be, the matter was announced on Friday. So first, when the matter comes out of court, you get advice from your legal advisors as to what is its meaning. So for the better part of the weekend, that's what we dealt with. But we have a number of ways of communicating with our customers. We have a call center that is in vernacular, that is fully manned, which we have communicated. We have also issued notices in both isiZulu and isiNgisi, isiXatasi. We continue to communicate with our clients and clarify for them and take platforms where we can take platforms. Your question as to our clients, are they going to leave us? I can turn it around. Our clients for 15 months, when this developed, they stayed with us.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. There's a request from one table attendant that Honorable Premier kindly summarizes the answers.
Well, umuntu akaqale ngokuthi ubantu ababhanga noma babeka bonga imali zabo kuyibhange eIthala kufanele baqhubeke bakwenze lokho ngoba kufanele siligcine liphila futhi sihlaba ikhwelo njengohulumeni wesifundazwe ukuthi abantu iminyango kahulumeni omasipala amabhizinisi kanye nazo zonke nje inhlangano zivula ama-account azo neThala uma lempi sidlula kuyona njengoba sazi ukuthi ijaji uNcube likhipha isinqumo sokuthi iThala bengafanele liphazanyiswe ukusebenza befanele liqhubeke lisebenze lingaphazanyiswa laba be-PA ne-RA basibehamba sebeyofaka isicelo sokuthi kubuyekezwe leso sinqumo leso kodwa sithi masinqoba kufanele abantu baqhubeke bagcine imali zabo ngoba udaba ezolixoxa namhlanje akulona udaba nje lokho kwenzeke ezinkantolo kodwa lo monakalo odalwa ilolu hambo oluqalwe ilaba be-PA ne-RA lokucekela phansi ibhange leli iThala ngoba kunabantu abalahlekelwe amabhizinisi kunabantu abalahlekelwe imali yabo abaphila ngayo kunabantu abangakwazi ukuqhubeka nokubhekelela indleko zenyanga nenyanga nokubhekelela imindeni kunezingane ezingakwazi ukuqhubeka nokufunda ngenxa yokugxambukela kwe-PA ne-RA odabeni lokusebenza kwebhange iThala manje ke namhlanje sithi kufanele abantu besifundazwe bazi ukuthi leli bhange leli liwumgogodla womnotho lokho kwenzakala ukucekela phansi umnotho wethu wesifundazwe futhi ukucekela phansi abantu laba abebeyisungulela besayiqalela amabhizinisi baningi kakhulu abantu ithemba labo kuleli bhange leli iThala okuyibhange labantu ehlose kubaluthusa abantu ikakhulukazi umnotho wasemakhaya nomnotho wesifundazwe nomnotho wasemalokishini sikuthozela kakhulu amaphimbo ahlukahlukene la khona abantu begcizelela ukuthi kusemqoko kuba livikelwe ibhange iThala abanye bahambe baye emgwaqeni abanye baye enkundleni zokuxhumana abanye bekhuluma kwabe indaba bekhuluma ngazwilinye ngaphakathi kwesifundazwe nangaphandle kwesifundazwe sonke bekhuluma ngazwilinye lokuthi kubaleke ngani ukuba ibhange leli iThala ligcinwa liphila ligcina likwazi ukusiza abantu manje sithi ke sekufanele lokho baphinde futhi bakuveze ngokuthi ke uma impisi inqoba lena kufika isikhathi basondele bonke bethi sesekaleli ibhange elikwazi ukusiza abantu basemakhaya nabantu basemalokishini la khona amabhange amaningi angakwazi ukuthi afinyelele khona umonakalo omkhulu kakhulu owenzakalayo ngalempi ekhona ngalenxa yalomdonsiswano owenziwa esingazi ngempela ukuthi ngabe yini kahle lena ngempela okufanele izuzwe ngokuthi kucekelwe phansi isifundazwe sakaZulu Natal kucekelwe phansi umnotho walesi sifundazwe ngoba lokhu akukhulumi nje kuphela ngebhange iThala kukhuluma ngomnotho wesifundazwe uqobo lwazo ngibothi ilako engakusho engakuphawula kafuphi nje ngesinto
Sibonge kakhulu kundunankulu wesifundazwe sibonge kakhulu to the members of the media Honorable MEC as well as the CEO members of the media the Honorable Premier will be available for the one-on-one studio to us and also the Honorable Premier has invited us for late breakfast as we just asked. Thank you so much.
And thank you very much for coming.